Welcome. I'm Ethan Evans. Hopefully, you knew that much. Today's topic is executive presence, and I hope to teach you how to communicate like an executive to stop getting overlooked, etc. So let's jump in. And now we're going to switch the pop quiz in the chat. I won't nag you with chat all the time, but I do want to make sure you're awake. When executive roles open, or any kind of higher level role, do you believe that we as leaders promote the hardest worker? Yeah, there's all no's. Good news, you're awake and smart. Hard work is entry level, it's table stakes, but it's getting that work noticed, and it's also communicating with your executives and working on the right stuff. I was talking to another person I was interviewing for my book yesterday, and she said something I thought was really smart. She said, yes, it's about hard work, but you've got to be doing hard work on the right things. Well, right things means stuff that's going to make an impact, but most importantly, stuff your managers, leaders, the people making the decisions care about. Because otherwise, you need to be a lone inventor. Okay. And you could be working on really smart things. An example I talk about, and then I will move on. An example I talk about, how many of you know what the Dvorak keyboard is? So, a lot of engineers here, a lot of techies, you probably know what the Dvorak keyboard is. It's a much more efficient keyboard layout than what we all use, which is called QWERTY. So, if we all typed on the Dvorak keyboard, we would be much more, it's got all the letters under your fingers, the most common letters under your fingers. Whereas if you look at how your fingers are supposed to rest on the QWERTY keyboard, you have like J, K, L, and semicolon under your strong right hand. If you know the history of this, why was this done? It was actually done because in the days of mechanical typewriters, it was there to slow people down. The guy who built the first keyboard said, people are typing too fast. The keys are getting jammed as they go up to strike. I got to slow them down. So the keyboard we all use was designed for inefficiency. Dvorak figured this out, made a much better keyboard. The problem is inertia. Dvorak was never able to get people to listen or care or switch their habits or switch their manufacturing. He ended up, you can look this up, dying pretty old, penniless, and frustrated. Well, I don't want that for you. And that's what we're going to try and cure with executive presence today. We're trying to get you out of this role where it's not, Dvorak was doing the good hard work, and it got him exactly nowhere except to be Ethan's historical footnote right now. All right, so let's talk about what it means to be noticed and what we're going to cover today. I can't teach you all of executive presence in a single hour. I'm going to do my best instead to give you a few high leverage tips. So, 5 steps to own the room at your job. Now, what does it mean to own the room? It means to get attention, to hold attention, to be able to get your message across. So, number one, we need to stop rambling. We're going to talk about something, an acronym we call BLUF. BLUF means bottom line up front. Get to the headline fast. Grab attention with the point. Many people start with explanation, and by the time they get to the point, I'm looking, as an executive, I'm looking at my phone and reading my email. Second, quit killing your own authority with weak words. Again, all of these we're going to go into in more depth, but weak words is where you say, I think, I wish, I believe, maybe. Those kinds of hesitations undermine authority. Third, we're going to do real live practice with hard executive questions. And we have a list of volunteers. The first three are Enrico. Enrico, your last name is a mouthful, bud. I know I'm sounding very American here, but we're going to go for it anyway. Is it Shadarelli? Well, anyway, you can tell me when you come on. Then we have Richa, Sonawane, maybe, and Apurva Raja. Those are the three we're going to do first. We have others behind them if we have time, or if those people foolishly didn't show up, in which case they'll go down in history as missing an opportunity. But we're going to practice with them. Everyone else will get to watch and see what we do, and you learn by watching. Good news for you introverts. You can learn by watching other people. What do they do well? What do they do poorly? How do they improve? You don't have to be in the spotlight yourself at first, but I'm going to give them raw feedback. One of the things I do is I give people useful feedback. I don't say, oh, it was pretty good. I tell them what was good and what was bad so they can improve. And then lastly, we're going to talk about how to project authority before saying anything at all, before saying a single word. Um, all right, so let's keep going. What do you want to do? Now, this says be a sought after executive. You can substitute, as I mentioned earlier, the word leader. You can substitute anything you want. Be the sought after leader, be the sought after founder. It's about how to train your brain to speak in corporate headlines so that leaders seek out your counsel. The big measure of do you have a strong presence? I'll give you a measure you can take home is do people come to you to ask your opinion on things you're not working on? A way to know someone has strong presence and what is called strong gravitas. We're going to talk about this Latin word gravitas. Yes, I'm a geek. We're going to talk a little bit about Latin. You have strong gravitas when people come to you to ask your opinion about something you're not involved in and not working on because they value you so much. Okay, so step-by-step framework on how we're going to give a step-by-step framework on how to speak to leaders. Why? Because as a leader, I can tell you, we promote and pay our own. Look, everyone does this. We recognize people who are like us, who are our people, who are our tribe that fit in with us. I'm also going to tell you something quick about human nature. If I'm a leader and I have two performers and you're one of them and you're Ms. Hard Work, okay, you're busting your butt. And then there's also Ms. Hard Work that I get along with and I see myself in and I like. It's not me being biased, it's me being human to want to spend my days with the person that I find fun and easy to connect to who mirrors me. Now, you can hate that. I'm okay if you hate it. Say that's wrong, blah, blah, blah. I'm not here to make the world right today. I'm here to make it clear. And clear is, it's not about being liked, but it is about if you want to be in leadership, leaders have to see themselves in you to some degree to see, oh, this person is a leader like me. At the end, we have this PDF that will summarize all the ways to have a strong presence without speaking, before saying a word. And I will tell a story about that later. If I don't remember, Jason, you can prompt me to tell, or people in chat to tell the Turkish ice cream story. And for those of you who are wondering what the hell that is, hang around and find out. So let's take a minute and talk about the pain. What's the pain we all feel? It sucks when your hard work is going unnoticed. And you're all here probably because you've had at least one example of working hard and it turned out you're working on the wrong thing and it got canceled. Or working hard, but no one seems to care. Or your boss is interested in something else. Or your boss's boss, your skip level, is interested in something else. Another thing that's tough, others interrupt you and they talk over you or they discount what you're saying. You feel like you just said that, but someone else says it and suddenly it's a brilliant idea. Um, that's, we're going to help you get past that. The worst, of course, is if other people are taking credit for your results. You're doing the hard work, but someone else is stepping in front of you. And because maybe you're very quiet by nature, they are able to say, oh, yeah, here's what we did. And they're the one talking. Sure, you're part of the we, but you're never mentioned. And then, of course, I know from probably most of you here, actually, English isn't your first language. So it's harder to think in English. It's harder to be erudite in English. It's harder to speak in English. Okay, those things are hard to do quickly and well. That is the hardest one to fix. I'll give you what help I can. But here's the key. You've tried working harder. What if you could get noticed and get credit instead? So, how do we do this? Well, a little background first about me. I grew up on a farm in Ohio. For those of you who know my backstory, I was an overweight, unpopular kid. Uh, and didn't have a very good start to my life in that sense. I had a lot of other advantages. I got to go to a good college, etc. So I'm not claiming some sad story, but when it comes to presence, I didn't have any. In fact, I got to my master's thesis at Purdue. I needed to address three professors to defend my master's thesis. This is not a big speaking engagement, right? This is not what there's 500 plus of you here right now. I'm excited to talk to 500 of you. I was terrified to talk to those three professors because I'd never done anything like it. I had no idea what I was in for. So my public speaking career began defending my master's thesis. Fast forward, I come to Amazon in 2005. I'm chartered to build what becomes Prime Video, which probably all of you have used. Certainly all of you know about Prime Video. I'm doing a demo. There is film of this. I am doing the demo of the product pre-launch at the all hands, and the demo totally tanks. The movie that we've queued up to show is an old classic called Office Space. Many of you know it, the red stapler scene. We're going to show this to the all hands. I take the movie off pause where we've had it paused, and everyone in the audience laughs. And I'm like, okay, this scene's funny, but it's not that funny. Well, what is it? I turn around and look, and the movie is playing upside down behind me. It's playing upside down. Why? How? Oh my God. I turn back around. Jeff Bezos is looking at me, along with all my management. But I kept my job and I was promoted. I was a senior manager in that role. I launched Prime Video. I became a vice president, made a lot of money. Now I'm here. That's presence. So I went from unwilling to defend my master's thesis, scared, to 20 years later, handling it well enough to keep my job when in front of the Amazon owl hands, a thousand plus of my peers in an auditorium, my demo is a steaming pile of poo behind me, and I'm on stage alone. That's the difference. You can do it. I did it. You can do it. All right, we're going to talk now how. So I've been under pressure, failed launches, angry executives ready to fire me. I've spoken up to 70,000 people when I worked for Twitch and was doing their public all hands, right? Their like quarterly results. And I've also faced no-win, hostile, loaded questions. Questions. Oh, somebody's off mute. Interesting. Um, anyway, I'm tired of seeing you struggle with a skill you can master. So let's figure out how to solve that. So here we go, straight up teaching. How can you win before saying a single word? Well, of course, it's good to speak powerfully and be heard and to have people listen and agree. But you think speaking is the only key. And good news, it's not. So I can teach you some of this in just 2 days. And I know you think good leaders or good speakers, good strong presences that were born. But like I said, I learned this and you can too. So what is that? Well, let's talk about what we're missing. Presence drives success. So let's look, many of you here are from technology. The rest of you know who these leaders are. Jensen Huang, CEO of NVIDIA, Satya, Sundar Pichai. These are people who have strong presence. I'm going to tell you a story. Literally yesterday, I was speaking to someone who works at NVIDIA, and he was telling me a story I didn't know about NVIDIA. And he said, it's driving me nuts because Jensen's two kids, the CEO, his two kids work at NVIDIA, and they want to have the same respect and authority as Jensen, but they don't. They don't have the same gravitas, that word we're going to talk about. They don't have the same accomplishments. They don't have the same insight, but they want to be seen like dad. And it drives him nuts because he and his organization are being pulled around by two kids who think they're the boss but aren't. That's the difference. Jensen has the authentic gravitas accomplishments process, presence to be listened to. The kids don't. So, how do you cross that gap? Well, talent opens the door. Being hardworking, those two children, I think probably, they're adult people, but they are his children. They are probably very smart. They're probably also hardworking. But presence is what builds the empire. Jensen is not only the CEO with the track record, he's got personality. So, do you want your talent to be recognized, to not be Jensen's kids? And I love getting these stories from inside these organizations. It's fascinating. So, Presence Toolkit. We're going to talk about what executive presence really is, which is starts with gravitas. Break down the skills that give you presence. Here's a key point. Executive presence, if I ask you all to define it, if I went back to chat and said, go to chat and tell me what executive presence means to you, try it. Just try it even in your head. Put in a few words of what it is to you and what it isn't. Probably because we've talked about the word speaking. A lot of you will say speaking, but you know it's more than that. You know it's reputation. You know it's relationship. It's humor. It's posture. It's showing up in the right rooms. Well, the key thing about executive presence, it's an output. It's not just one thing. Another fun thing about executive presence, you don't get to say, I have lots of executive presence. Other people have to decide that about you. It's not something, if you say, oh, I'm going to go practice my executive presence, what would that mean? The key is you have to pull executive presence apart into what we would call, and Amazon people here will recognize this term, the controllable inputs. What can you do to build your reputation beforehand, to showcase your track record, to have credentials? What can you do to control who's in the room, to control the speaking environment, to prepare, to have your data right? Then what can you do to speak well, to be heard, and how can you follow up? Those are all the pieces of executive presence. So we break down executive presence, and then the key is you can't practice executive presence. You can practice answering questions quickly under pressure, which is what we'll do later. You can practice setting up a meeting to give you influence. One of the things I point out is the person who sets up the meeting by default runs it. So there's presence just in, am I attending someone else's meeting or is it a meeting I called? Because see, calling a meeting is a type of presence flex. Now, I don't want this all to be artificial, but who is driving? Are you always reacting to others or are you setting the agenda? It's a very small example. We'll do live practice under pressure. So I've talked and mentioned this word gravitas a few times. The word gravitas is where Isaac Newton got the word gravity. It's Latin for weight or heaviness or matter. So when it comes to executive presence, this is good news. The good news is your presence is mostly determined not by how well you speak, not by how you look, but by your gravitas, how substantial people think you are. I will give you an example. Almost all of you here are aware of Warren Buffett, the now, I think 90, I don't know, Jason's an expert on Warren more than I am, late 90s year old Berkshire Hathaway CEO, now board chairman because he's leaving the CEO role. Anyway, one thing no one says about Warren is, wow, what an amazing orator. Also, he's older than dirt. So it's not that he's Harrison Ford or George Clooney in appearance. They're not listening to him because that dude is hot. Okay? Those aren't what's doing it for him. It's his track record of accomplishment. He's called the Sage of Omaha, and people fly to his annual meeting of Berkshire Hathaway to hear him speak, and they pay thousands of dollars to talk to him because of what he's done. That's his book of work, his book of accomplishments. So, what is going to be your gravitas? I was coaching a principal engineer a couple days ago. He works for a big tech company and he's trying to get to senior principal. And we were talking about what those levels look like. And he talked about how gravitas as an engineer is when you have an accomplishment that everyone knows about that is your reference work. So at one point, this is geeky. For those of you who aren't in tech, forgive me. Hopefully you'll know at least one of these references. James Amazon hired James Gosling, who wrote Emacs. Well, James Gosling, people would listen to on any topic because he wrote Emacs. Okay. And you can look at this if you like Linux, Linus Torvald. Like, if you have a chance to talk to Linus Torvald and he wants to say something about operating systems, you're not like, well, who the hell are you and why would I care about your opinion? It's obvious. That's gravitas. I have no idea if Linus speaks well or not, has a strong presence or not, but I know people are going to listen to him about his expert topic because he's that way. So people think it's about speaking. The problem is you experience the problem. We all experience the problem that people who don't know us don't listen to us. They may be in the room and they may be the words, but the words are going in one ear and out the other. So when I say listen, I mean no one considers what we say deeply unless we have a strong reputation, which is built on our body of work. So for all of you who answered in chat earlier that hard work doesn't get you promoted, kind of it does, because it is the groundwork of presence. So don't despair. Your hard work is building that base layer. I'm going to help you then figure out how to present it, because if no one's listening, then your ideas aren't heard. For the weight and substance of what you're doing, you're trying to develop a set. Remember, I talked about impact and working on what the company cares about. You may have done something remarkable, but if it's in a space no one cares about, it doesn't matter. You may have repainted a better version of the Mona Lisa. But if you're at an engineering company or a finance company, probably no one cares that you're also a great painter. So we start with relevant accomplishments and getting those out in front of people. And I talk a lot about how to do that. It's in the PDF at the end about sending out a status report and how to publicize your work. Having that base makes people listen so that then you are valued and move up. Because in the end, that's what we're looking at here. And move up can mean more pay. It can mean promotion. It can mean respect. All of us want respect, whether we care about pay or promotion. Next topic. The number 1 and 2 factors based on research by a very deep executive presence researcher. Her name is Sylvia Ann Hewlett. Her book is just called Executive Presence, is confidence and decisiveness. When you choose to speak, there is a huge difference if you are tentative versus if you are confident and decisive. So why aren't people confident or decisive? Well, we're all taught to get high marks in school and we're afraid of being wrong, or we're afraid that if we come out too strongly and really say what we think, we'll offend someone. The problem is, then your words are tentative. You say, well, I think, or maybe we could. Nobody ever followed a leader who said, maybe if we do this, we'll take the castle and live. Nobody. Right? You would never do that. So you can't be tentative. This means why? Because people think you're unsure. And if you sound unsure, why would I think I should follow you or adopt your proposal? So whether you like it or not, I'm going to say that a lot. This isn't about what you like, it's about what works. When you're trying to influence someone and have a strong presence, you have to be confident and decisive. So instead, we use clear, confident words. And if you think about the last, I'm looking over at the clock, the last 26 minutes, at no point have I hesitated. I've looked at you and told you what I believe. If I had been saying, well, I kind of think gravitas matters, and I think executive presence might help you, you'd all be gone, and you should be. And that's what I'm showing you. When we use confident words, other people feel certain we know, and then they follow you automatically. So I'm going to tell this story of telling Jeff Bezos no in front of his board of directors. But before I do that, I want to share something more personal. My wife teases me, and she's right. She says, Ethan, you speak like the voice of God. You sound so sure. And what I've learned, because she's been married to me a long time, see, other people won't have this advantage. What I've learned is sometimes you actually don't know. And I told her, yeah, here's the thing. I may be wrong, but I'm never in doubt. Now, the truth is, sometimes I do have doubts, but when I speak, I sound like I have no doubt whatsoever. And that's why people follow me. And yes, occasionally that's led my wife to follow me a wrong direction, literally a wrong turn on the highway or something else. You might think, well, that's bad. Well, kind of. Of course, it's bad I'm going the wrong way, and it's bad that someone who didn't know better spoke up. On the other hand, people follow me, and I had a very successful career. The key is to be right most of the time. So let's tell this story now. So here's the setting. I was running Amazon's games business, part of it. I was running what's called Prime Gaming. Jeff Bezos calls the gaming leadership into his board meeting to update the board of directors about the gaming projects and says, he asks us a loaded question where he obviously wants a yes. What he said was, if everything in your plan goes right, will we be on a path to compete with Tencent Games? Now, if you don't know Tencent Games or gaming, they're the largest gaming company in the world. They have over 1 billion users. And Jeff was fishing because he would never say, what if all your plan goes right? Leaders are always asking, what if it goes wrong? Or what if it's not as good? So he's fishing for a yes. Unfortunately, I had to tell him no. Now, I could have done a lot of explaining, but what I said was, no, we're not on that path because Tencent owns a property called QQ, which is a messaging app. The folks here from China or with that background know this. They own QQ and it has 1 billion active users a day. Amazon doesn't have any distribution channel that's equivalent. So even if we build great games, we're not in a position to be Tencent. But the key is, here's the key, confident and decisive. I led with just one word, no. Most people would have said, well, unfortunately, Tencent has this thing called QQ, blah, blah, blah. So we're not in a position to be as competitive. That is not as strong an answer. I can assure you, when I said no, when Jeff wanted a yes, Jeff and all the people on the board were looking at me. I had their undivided attention. That can be good or bad, but if you want to be a leader, that's what you want. And then I was able to justify. So it's no, then explain, or yes, then explain. So confident and decisive. Let's go a little deeper. How can you do this now that you have my story? Try to speak in headlines. And see, I just made a mistake. You won't always be perfect. I said try to. Those are weasel words. I should have simply said speak in headlines. Frame, don't explain. Try to, that's Yoda, right? There is no try, there is only do. You want to only do. You won't be perfect and you can still have high presence. When I make mistakes and I notice them, I will try to call them out because I want you to see that you can have strong presence without being perfect. But you want to lead with your top line conclusion. That's the no. And then add only the minimum required context. Avoid these words like, well, I think, or what happened was. So here's an example of two ways to say something. Many of you, when asked for an update on a project, would say, well, we're having some issues and we might be late. This is weak. The leadership answer is we're 3 days behind schedule and we need two people to recover, or we can buy our way out of the delay with $10,000 of extra design work. Clear, these are clear. They're confident, they're decisive. This is where we are, this is what we need. So speak like that. Be bright, be quick, be gone. So when trying to make an impression, we are all, most of us, all of us pretty much have gone through college and we're used to having to show our work, give all the proof. The trick is, in an executive setting, leaders get lost in that detail. You start talking about details that they don't understand and they lose interest, which means what happens when you lose interest? You start looking at your phone. We all do it. There are some of you, I can't see you all. I know this is true. I've lost two people's interest and you're looking at your phone right now, not me. Well, with those two people, somehow I failed and they've stopped listening. Now, what I did just made them go, oh, wait, said I was looking at my phone. Now I've got them back for a minute. So instead, we use this be bright, be quick, be gone. One reason I'm only talking for a short time today is I need to be bright for you, be quick for you. It's Saturday, and then be gone. Some of you in Bangalore need to go to bed. The rest of you want to go on with your summer. This keeps a leader's attention. Or if you prefer, you get your message to them before they lose attention. This means they can say yes and move on, which is what leaders want to do. Now, why is that? Everybody thinks managers are shallow. It's not that they're shallow, some of them may be, it's that they're busy. They have 53 million things on their mind. And they only want to spend as much time on any topic as absolutely required, and that's human. So get to the point. Defining these, what does bright mean? Clear, correct information. In that example above, 3 days is a lot more clear than a little behind. Quick. Executive time is precious. I just explained that. The quicker you can be, the stronger your impact will be. If you think of the famous speeches of history, they had killer lines, right? So some of you know, for example, John F. Kennedy's famous speech, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. It's those mic drop lines. You might think it's weird, but speak in mic drops. That's a way to think about it. And then get gone. Once you get agreement, it's tempting to sit around and schmooze, but you're boring some people, you're annoying others, and you're opening yourself up to random curiosity and redirection. This is called, if you like, it's called selling past the close. Once you have the yes or the no, get the hell out of the room and go either work on changing the no or move forward. Don't sit around where that can be reconsidered. So let's go all the way back to that all hands demo. Remember I said I was on the stage and the movie's playing behind me backwards. I turn around, I have the microphone. Jeff and the whole Amazon audience are looking at me. What the hell do you say? I said, it looks like we have some problems. Jeff told me this project just has to work. Obviously it doesn't. I'm going to go fix that. And then I left the stage. Now that set of words, what did I do? I didn't hide from the problem. I didn't hide from the fact there was a problem. When people can see it's broken, there's no point in saying, oh, it's just a glitch. It was obviously effed. Second, I acknowledged what Jeff wanted. This has to just work. So Jeff knew that I knew what he wanted. And then I took ownership and said, I'm going to go fix it. Action statement, very clear, confident. I'm going to go fix it. And then I left. Gone. I was gone. Now, As it happens, that launched. I got promoted in the next year, became a director. I had other failures that I've written about, you can read about, or I'll share in my full class. Um, but that's where I had come from being afraid to defend my master's thesis in front of three people. You can make this same journey to where if you have a melted down demo behind you, you can look at your famous billionaire CEO and say, "Yes, it's broken. I see it's broken. I'm going to go take care of that," and have him believe you enough not to replace you. Because that's always what a leader's thinking is, "Oh, can I trust this person? It's obviously wrong. They've screwed up. Can I trust them? Or do I need to put someone I know in there?" So there's a picture of Jeff. Um, why is executive communication different? Well, executives have limited time, but they have wide-ranging responsibilities. Think of all the things Jeff has to worry about. Hundreds. He only had a few minutes a year to spend on video with me. In that time, he has to assess, is this project on track? Are there any changes I want to make? Can I trust the leadership team? Because I'm going to have to not hear from them again for 6 months, 12 months, 2 years. And they have lots of people competing for their attention. To cut through, you have to use this bluff, bottom line up front. Now, be bright, be quick, be gone, bottom line up front, they're kind of the same. And on the next slide, I'm going to give you a third way. These are all lenses about how to be, what did I say earlier? Confident and decisive. They're all ways to help you do that. And the next phase after this, we're going to go to live practice with real people, starting with Enrico. We're going to go to live practice, and people are going to try to do this as I question them. So make it easy for them to say yes or no. Show you understand their issues. Remember, that's the strategic context. Jeff's issue was really simple. Amazon hadn't launched any streaming products. There was no streaming music. There was no Kindle. He knew that the market would judge Amazon by what we did first, which was video. And so it had to just work. That was his strategic context. So by me saying it's obviously not working, I was showing, okay, I get it. I heard you, Mr. CEO. So here's your third and final framework of how to be quick. You can think of it as what, so what, now what. Real simple formula if you want. What are we talking about? We're talking about the broken demo. Explain why it matters. It's our first launch. It has to work. It's going to set our reputation. Now what? It obviously doesn't work. I'm going to leave the stage and go fix it. What, so what, now what? I'll do this again for you so you see how it works. The board. Are we on a path to be as big of a gaming company as Tencent? No. I'm pretty clearly state your point. No. So what? Explain why it matters. Because we don't have QQ. Now what? Well, in that case, the now what was we were buying a small communications company, doesn't matter which one. We were buying something and we were going to try and grow into that over time. So we did have a now what. All right. So we're about to start real practice. People think they can learn presence only by listening. You can learn a ton by listening, and you're going to all get to do that here in just a second. The problem is, presence is also what you do, which means in the end, listening isn't enough. That's why we use hard live practice. Hard live practice. Why would I make it hard? Why not make it easy? I like to give people harder situations than they'll probably face in real life so that everything else they have to do in real life is easier. That makes sense, right? If it's easier, if you may have heard this, practice harder than you play. I also give people immediate feedback so that you get better instantly, right? And we're going to hopefully see, by the way, these people I've chosen, I don't know any of them. I have two backup people, and I'll be transparent about it if we get to them, who I know. But the people we've chosen just applied like you did to be in the class and said they'd be willing to be on screen. I don't know any of them. Maybe some of them will be brilliant speakers. Maybe some of them will really struggle. but this is in no way a canned demo, completely live. Why would you do that? Well, confident and decisive. I believe in what we do. Here's what you need to do as an audience, though. If you're one of the people about to be called out, this is a chance to practice your gravitas. Can you be confident and decisive? Can you use bottom line up front? For everyone else, this is your chance to observe. Do they make eye contact? What's their tone? What's their body language? Do they communicate clearly? When I put pressure on them, are they cool under pressure or does that throw them? And what I want you to do, if you're willing, is see, that was another weasel word. Shouldn't have said it. Mistake. What I want you to do is put your observations into chat. There are two reasons. One, I want you engaged enough to be thinking, what do I think of how this person is answering? And two, I want to help them because they can go back to the chat record and it's not only me giving them feedback, it's all of you also. So with that in mind, Jason, I hope you have Enrico ready to go because this is the first question we're going to ask Enrico to answer. If you can bring him on and spotlight him. And if
All right,
not,
Enrico, you're spotlighted.
all right, I
I'm going to
see
ask you to
you. He's
unmute
still
yourself.
muted. He can't. There, all right, he's off
Here we
mute.
go. Yeah, I
All
come out
right,
of
Enrico, it's a pleasure to meet you.
likewise.
All right, let's go. So, whatever your situation is, well, let me just ask real quick. Are you a leader, an individual contributor? What do you do?
I'm a leader. I manage a software team in a tech company.
Perfect. So, your VP at this tech company comes to you and says, Enrico, we have to make some cuts. Why should I keep investing in your program?
So because my program is very important and critical for the future of the company, it will open up like a lot of new opportunities and businesses that are not inside today.
Okay, well, I got to be honest, I'm not convinced. In what way is it important?
Because it opens the ability to give a more complete and turnkey solution for our customers, which in turn will lead them to adopt and scale our products faster.
All right. So, Enrico, thank you very much. And I know going first, huge ask. I appreciate that. Now, the real feedback. Um, the place where you can improve your answer is specificity. You're saying descriptive words. It's important, it's strategic to the company, and not saying measurable or specific words. Here's a tip for everyone. And if you see me looking off to the edge a little bit, it's because I'm looking at Enrico to also look at his setting. But um, using numbers in your answer makes your answer 63% more believable. Now, fun fact, I just made that up and you bought it. You're like, oh, 63%. Wow. I just made that up. What we all know, though, is numbers sound specific and non-round numbers. If I say 60%, you're like, oh, okay, maybe about half. 63% sounds like that voice of God I know. So, for someone like Enrico who's working hard to be persuasive and answer this hard question he wasn't prepared for, um, he needs to A, try to give a specific reason. How many customers will be adopted? When will it ship? How specifically will the investment pay off? What level of growth will it show? Now, I don't know his business. He may be thinking about, I don't have any of those numbers. That's okay. Which could you approximate? I'm going to try and answer for Enrico to showcase this. We should keep my program, strong assertion, open right up. You should keep investing in my program because it's going to deliver double digit growth to our bottom line by blah, blah, blah. Now, double digit, hey, that can mean anything from 10% to 99%. Enrico doesn't have to have a specific number to make it sound concrete and specific. If he knows more, he can say more. So, Enrico, take just a second and try it again. Think through what you might say now that you've had a moment and heard some of this feedback. Why should we keep investing in your program?
I should keep investing in my program because it is an enabler for 75% of our customers. It will lead them to shorten the adoption cycle by at least 3 months, resulting in 25% sales growth year over year.
Whoa! Okay, everybody, look at that. Look at that. Think about the difference. Talk about it in chat if you want. Think about the difference. Answer one versus answer two. Enrico, I couldn't ask for someone, honestly, to show more improvement in like 2 minutes than you just did. And I've never met Enrico. I encourage you to reach out to me on LinkedIn because I'd like to. Uh, I'd like to know who you are and more about you. But wow, great example. You showed the power of this method. So I'm going to thank you for this point and move on to the next person. Sound good?
That's great. Thank you very much for the
Thank you very much.
opportunity.
All right. So second up, we should have Richa, assuming I'm not mangling your name, in which case I'm sorry. Um, all right, there she is. And she's got San Francisco Bay Bridge behind her, or that's not the Bay Bridge, Golden Gate. So here's the scenario we're going to give you. It's a little longer, and it just says it's kind of similar, but not the same. You're in a budget review with your CFO, and they say if we gave you 30% less funding, what would you cut and what would you protect? So very quickly, tell me a little bit about yourself. Like generally, what industry do you work in, and what kind of role do you have?
So, hey, Ethan, thanks for the opportunity here. My name is Richa, and I work for a tech firm, but more on the physical infrastructure and facilities.
No problem. And you're an individual contributor or a manager?
Individual contributor.
So infrastructure is very expensive. So this is a great question for you. So I'm going to play the role of the CFO and I'm going to say, if we gave you 30% less funding, what would you cut and what would you protect?
So if I was to get 30% less funding, then the new products that we are trying to introduce to grow the business would take a hit. And I would like to continue expanding. So what I would not like to be cut is the new product that we are trying to add, for which I have asked for 100,000 square foot extra facility. I would still like to protect that. What I can cut is there is an opportunity to outsource some of the products that are being manufactured. And that is the portion that we can cut and outsource and still continue to be able to achieve our goals of production, improving overall production of our products by 20%.
All right. So I could ask you a follow-up question, but you gave a nice long answer. I want to focus on a couple things to help you. First, one of the things we do in trying to help people have high presence, I want everyone in chat to think about what was good and bad about that answer. What was strong and weak is a better way, not good and bad, but what can be improved. But I also give people feedback on their physical setup because being virtual, all of us do virtual meetings now. Now, Richa, I apologize. I was mangling your name. Thank you for correcting me. But in addition, you have a camera that's making you look up. So you look a little bit like the child at the table looking up at the adults. And you don't want that. So now you're changing it, which I appreciate, and that's great. The point is, one of the things you want to do is control your setting to have the best tools possible. Now, I bought something special. It's not a high-tech camera. It's not a big lens. It's called an eye contact. And the lens actually sits in front of my screen so that when I'm looking at the screen, there's this little pole in the middle of my screen, which kind of sucks, but the camera's right there. So I can look right at my slides or right at the person and I'm literally staring at them. That's a simple trick. The point I'm making is you can not only improve your presence by getting better at speaking, I want to also help you improve your presence by other things you do. And there's a whole ton of rules that are in the PDF you'll get at the end here about how to set up your setup to make you have more presence and to be a stronger video presence. Going to the meat of your answer, I'm going to give you basically the same feedback, not a surprise, I gave Enrico. Number one, you answered by saying if you cut, which is mirroring what the CFO said, but if you don't want to cut, you want to start a little differently and say something like, well, the cost of a cut would be, or the cost of a cut would be. You can still answer the question you were asked, but part of this is to think about politicians do this all the time. You ask a politician about taxes, and 2 seconds later, they've pivoted to immigration. How do they do that? You say, do you support higher taxes on the rich? And they say, well, taxes on the rich isn't really the issue. It's all the illegal immigration and all the illegals in our country who aren't paying taxes. Suddenly, they've made the topic immigration and dumped on immigrants for not paying taxes, when in fact the question was about taxing the rich. But you see how smoothly I did that. Think about what you want, the message you want to get across. But even if you want to answer literally, open more strongly if you can and be specific. If I recall your words right, you said we would take a hit. What we're doing or something would take a hit. Well, a hit, if I remember your words right, isn't specific. It would shrink by 20%. We wouldn't be able to deliver this quarter. Now, this is all very hard to do live and interactive, and I get that. Remember, I said we practice harder than we play. So, Richa, would you like to take one more shot at this and see? The other thing I would advise you, can you be a little bit shorter? Total answer, yes, answer the question, but try to do it as you think about it. What are the couple main points you want to land with this executive? So with that, I will prompt you again and say, if we gave you 30% less funding, what would you cut and what would you protect?
The cost of 30% less funding would be that some of the products that we are now manufacturing in-house would have to be outsourced. And the portion that I would not like to cut is the new product that we are trying to bring, the new product line that we are trying to introduce, because the overall impact would be over 25% if we were to go that route.
All right. Much better. Much better. There's still things, if I were coaching you and I had more time, as opposed to giving a third example, we could go into, but that was a significant improvement. Everyone give Richa a round of applause, and we're going to do one more example before moving on. Thank you very much.
Ethan. Thank you.
Yep. All right. So next up, if they're here, is Apurva Raja. All right. Here we go. So your scenario is going to be, you can think about your current workload to respond below. Your SVP during a leadership meeting, what is the number one risk in your area right now, and how are you addressing it? So Apurva, are you off mute? Go ahead and talk to me.
Yes. Hi.
All right,
Hi.
sweet. What do you do? Generally, where do you work and what's your role?
Yeah, I'm a senior technical program manager at Amazon in the books area, and I'm
Oh.
an individual contributor.
All right, perfect. Thanks so much. So your SVP, or maybe because Amazon's got 60 million levels, just your VP says, so what's the number one risk in your area right now, and how are you addressing it?
The number one risk in our program right now is we do not have enough headcount to launch the new app next year that we are planning to. And to address this, what we can do, we need to, because the hiring is in freeze, we will come up with different gamification ideas so that we can attract new customers on our website and retain engagement.
All right, Apurva, you started so strong, very clear. But if you go back and review the recording of this, or if you look at what people said, you super strong start. And then when you tried to explain how we're going to address it, there were like 4 uhs in a row, which I get. We all use what's called a fill pause in our speaking, but you want to try to limit that. I'm curious, Do you feel you were trying to speak quickly, or is that the normal speed at which you speak?
No, I think in this kind of situation, I speak quickly.
Yes. So, interestingly, this is normal. What does speaking quickly do? It conveys nervousness. Let me show you and everyone else. If I say, hey, I'm Ethan Evans and I'm an expert on executive presence, you should listen to me, I sound not very believable. But if I say, I'm Ethan Evans and I'm an expert in executive presence, you should listen to me. Same exact words, different impact. So, the other thing slowing down your speech, if you can, will do for you. Number one, just that will change your impact. It will give you more time to think so that you don't have as many of those ums and uhs because you can think while you're talking. Your mouth is saying what you already have decided, and it's buying your brain time to plan ahead. So it's a little bit like when you're using a chat bot and you can see it writing, you're reading what it's written, that's your mouth talking, and it's still thinking. Same idea. So, though, I want to compliment you. You had a really strong opening where you said the number one risk is. You got right to the point. You didn't like, well, let me think about that. There was no hesitation. So, thinking a little bit about answering more slowly. I'll also point out, by the way, for everyone watching, since it's the last example, this question is actually easier than you'd think because the framed question includes the follow up. What do I mean by that? The number one risk in your area right now, I might just ask it that way. Hey, Apurva, what's the number one risk in your area right now? But of course, executives always, if you tell them a risk, they're going to want to know, are you doing something about it? So you might just get the question, and this is how I'll test it. Apurva, what's the number one risk in your area right now?
Hey, the number one risk right now is not having enough headcount to launch the app that we plan to in early next year. So what we plan to do is we are evaluating all the existing programs in flight and allocate and removing resources to allocate on the app work. These programs, the other programs are not as impactful right now in the given situation, and that's the reason we will be shifting resources from other programs into the app program so that we can launch it successfully.
All right, very good. You did a good job speaking slower. The final advice for you, and then I'm going to move on, is uh, cutting that answer off. You have a talent for starting strong and then you get lost and wander. This is common. I like to say, and I said I'd be a little strong with people, harsh feedback. Go find your box of periods and use more of them. Uh, just
Yeah,
let the person follow up, answer the question, and then stop. All right.
sure. Thanks,
So with
Ethan.
that, I hope let's do a recap. What have you learned? We've talked about owning the rooms and how I did it, and so you can too. We've talked about how it isn't all speaking, it's gravitas, and how you can start to win before you ever open your mouth. That's Warren Buffett. We talked about be bright, be quick, be gone. And you just had what I hope are three super compelling demos of how you can change and how fast you can change with feedback. And we've only scratched the surface. So let's check in and chat. Did you learn something today? Give me a one or a yes in chat, please, if you learned something today. Or you can clap, you can do the applause stuff, any way you want to give feedback. Do you believe in the importance of gravitas as much or more than speaking? That reputation, building your base of work so that people want to listen to you. Do you see the power of bright, then quick, then gone, of being confident and decisive? Hey, and would you like more feedback from me? Well, I hope so. I believe so. So you can choose to improve. Based on what we've taught today, you can decide to be more confident and decisive in your speech. You've had the examples. The recording will be available. You can learn from it. You can commit to getting to the point. And the PDF that'll come out here in a few minutes, you can optimize your Zoom presence. Those things are going to make a huge difference. That's stuff you can do right now today. You don't need a thing. But what if you could get hours of this kind of live practice, doing it yourself and watching others? Would that make a difference? Well, take my full class. In a couple weeks on the 18th and 19th, the weekend, we're going to teach a full class. And I say we, Jason and I, we teach together. You get 13 hours more. What did the 1 hour do for you? What did you learn? There's 2 core technique lectures where I explain what to do. But then there's 5 live practice sessions, and we have 5 specialized bonus classes. So you can get 13 times what you got today, and it's limited to just 50 people so that I can work with everyone individually. There's 600 of you here. If you want to own the room, be heard, and move up, we do it in small groups. So you can get that personal intention like you saw with Enrico and Ricci and Apurva. Now, what's waiting cost you? Well, strong presence got me to VP. This is real. You can go look this up on Salary FYI or other places. Directors make $150,000 more than a senior manager. It also happens to be that when I was promoted after that problem on the stage, that bad demo, this is the exact raise I got back in 2005. I went from $175,000 as a senior manager to $325,000 as a director. Now, today those numbers sound low because that was 21 years ago. But I got a $150,000 raise, and that's what Salary FYI will tell you it is right now. Speaking coaches charge a bunch. My class is $2,900. Another way to look at this is every month you lose, whether you want to move up as an individual contributor or as a leader, it's costing you $10,000 a month to wait. Every month of promotion, that's the cost. So think about that. Here's some real student results. By the way, these are all results just about what I teach about how to use LinkedIn to build your presence. Why on earth would I talk about LinkedIn, which I haven't mentioned yet today? Because it's something introverts and those who struggle to speak in the room can do from the safety of their keyboard and still start changing the access they have, the respect they get, the gravitas. LinkedIn, most of you found me through LinkedIn. You're here today because you read something on LinkedIn, you followed me on LinkedIn, you know me from there or my newsletter. That's you feeling I was worth listening to today because of stuff you read yesterday and last year. I can teach you how to do that, and here's real results from people who followed me that way. So, we also have bonus video lectures from experts in the field. We have a specialist in quiet leadership, David Markley. We have a specialist humor. Nishant Jain is a leader at Apple who taught himself improv and is able to command the room. I'll tell a 2-second story there. I went to San Francisco to do a meetup. He volunteered to host it. That was presence move number 1. But then when I got there, he surprised me and said, hey, I want to open the meeting. And he went on to do an improv comedy act. Now, he didn't even tell me. He just did it. Presence. And he taught himself that from being an introvert. High EQ, confident and clear communication, all of these come with the class, not from me or from Jason. The class we teach is worry-free. 100% money back guarantee through the Maven platform. You'll get a full refund if you're not satisfied. The main classes are on the weekend, just like this, so that you don't miss work. They're in the morning, so the people in India can do them in the evening. But if you have to miss something, we do some follow-up practice sessions during the week. They're all recorded so that you can manage through that no matter what time zone you're in. And of course, as you've seen, it was on purpose. None of the 3 people I used as a demo have English as a first language. Okay. We work with people from different backgrounds all the time. You saw how much they were able to improve, even though English is their second language. Small class. We do only 50 seats. As of this morning, 38% of those seats, 19 had already been sold. But I give every student personal feedback, live practice like you saw today. Everyone who wants that practice will get that chance and get that feedback. And in fact, I go deeper in person in the class. I just didn't want to drag it out here today with all of you. So, we're now going to give you, thank you for staying. We're going to give you the bonus PDF in chat. Jason will put that out. We may be able to email it to people, but you should grab it in chat right now. And if you want to join the class and get all the help I can give you, Jason and I can give you, this QR code will let you do that. Or you can use the link on my website, just wb-ep-cu, and that will get you right there. We expect this to sell out in a few minutes. So if you want in, get in. When you go to that link, there will also be an option. If July doesn't work, we teach this class once more this year in October, and the same class is available in October. And so you can sign up now if either July fills up or you can't get in, you can't make the July dates work because they're only 3 weeks away. You can go for October. And if you go for October, we'll see if through the fall we can do some special things to help you learn along the way. Okay, we can release some of the recorded videos so that you can watch them over the summer early so that you've watched all the bonus content before it happens. So I'm done talking now in this sense. I'm going to answer your questions. My team, if you want to ask me a question about the class or about what I've taught, put the question into Zoom chat and my team will prioritize them. So I see someone raise their hand. I'm not going to take raised hand questions just because I want to run through the mechanism of letting my team do it in chat. It seems like there's a lot of questions already. Hopefully they're a little bit prioritized here, team, because they just sent me a huge list of stuff to answer. And I'm sure hoping that they're in some kind of order. So, when can we pre-order your book? God, I wish I knew. The book publishing process takes forever, and that's not what we're here to talk about, but not yet. Thank you for asking, though. It's coming. Would Jeff always remember Ethan as the failed demo guy? Obviously not. What do I mean by that? I was the failed demo guy, but Jeff personally signed off on promotions to vice president. So ultimately, first I was promoted to director. I can't tell you honestly whether Jeff signed off on that himself or not. But to become a vice president, all of those are approved at that time by Jeff, and I was promoted. So it would be illogical for him to be like, oh yeah, I really want a vice president who's that failed demo guy. What he remembered, I can tell you what he remembered. We all had to go to lunch with Jeff after that. And I went to the restaurant and I got there early, and Jeff, because he'd been driven by a security team, was already there. And I walk into this room with about 20 seats and Jeff's sitting in one of them. I take one look at him and head for the far corner, right? I've just screwed up a demo. The last thing I want to do is be next to him. He says, no, come sit next to me. I go sit next to him, and what am I thinking? It's the same thing you're thinking. Oh, this is going to be a disaster. I'm about to get reamed, maybe fired. What Jeff says is, hey, I just want you to know I'm not worried about this because I know you are. So because I had communicated clearly on stage that I was going to go handle it, he looked at me and said, look, I'm not worried about this because I know you are. So in fact, even an hour later, by the time we got to the restaurant, he was not remembering me as the failed demo guy. That's the power of that decisive clear, strong answer that you can learn to give. So, more questions. Is decisive executive presence incompatible with being authentic and vulnerable? Thinking about Brene Brown's work. No. Look, you can decide if I have presence or not. Remember, you get to decide. But I'm guessing many of you think I have at least good executive presence, if not great executive presence. Do you find me inauthentic? Or certainly, I'd be shocked if any of you think I'm not vulnerable. I talk about my wife making fun of me because of my voice of God. I talk about online all kinds of my failures. I talk about failing the demo. How can you get more authentic than talk about your demo melting down? I had only been at the company a single year. I was a new guy. Nobody in the audience other than my own team knew me. So here, my first introduction to my new company is a disaster. If I'm going to share that, you have a pretty good idea I'm authentic and vulnerable. But do I have presence? You clearly think so. You're here listening to me. So you can totally have both. Next question. For junior leaders, are there effective in the room tactics for moving past the fear of being wrong or looking stupid? This is a really good question. So whoever sent it in, good job. This is something I can't fully teach here. Get it in the class. Please fill up the class. I'm waiting. I'm looking forward to when my team tells me class is full, October class is full. Only because why? I want to work with each of you in more detail. I love to work with people. This is a good question. Did it seem when I was working with Enrico, Richa, and Apurva, did it seem to you like I was honestly interested in helping them? Or did it seem like I was like, okay, I've done this a million times. Let me chat with this person because I'm putting on a show. I love helping people. And when Enrico made such a huge change in that first answer, that made me super happy. So I love doing this. And this person on junior leaders, are there effective tactics? There are. Let me try and give you one now. Practice. Find a safe place to practice. Don't make your first public speaking or your first presentations to senior leaders. Go give brown bags. How did I get good at what I do? Well, there's a lot of steps I took, but I started teaching, and you can go see hundreds of videos of me on YouTube when I used to be a Twitch live streamer. I started going on Twitch just to help people and talking about leadership on a live stream in a gaming world, right? So lots of trolls, lots of angry audience, lots of people who are like, what's a grandpa doing here? I had to deal with all of that, and I let people ask me any question they wanted. Why am I confident taking any question that comes up in this chat? Right? As my team sends me what you're all asking, why am I comfortable answering it? Because I've done literally hundreds of hours of live Q&A. Practice, finding a safe place to practice, go practice with the internet trolls. Go practice somewhere anonymous. Go speak at a club. Go speak at your church or other religious institution. Get out of work and practice so that you're comfortable in front of an audience. You know, many years ago, a story I don't tell much, I was giving a talk at my church about Y2K. Now that shows age, but Y2K, everybody thought when the years rolled over from 99 to 00, everything was going to break. I was giving a talk to the church about how that wasn't going to happen, and the mic wouldn't work. So I'm up on stage. I'm a young presenter. I had never spoken to my church congregation before and all the people we invited in because we opened it up to the community. And the mic won't work and it keeps cutting in and out. Finally, I just set the mic down. I have a loud voice and I said, you know, I'm going to demonstrate how even if a little technology fails, we can work without it. I'm going to speak to you and you're going to be very quiet and listen, and we don't need the mic. And that's how we'll get through Y2K. If anything fails, we'll just adapt. So what did I do? I took the problem, and as opposed to freaking out and saying, wait a minute, we got to get the mic fixed, I just made it part of the show. That's comfort on stage, and that comes from practice. You got to put in the hours. All right, let's see what else there is. I don't think I have time on the weekdays. No problem. That's why everything is recorded. That's why you can watch and follow up. If you don't have time for the weekday follow-ups, the main core of the class, the critical elements are done on the weekend, and the rest is done, the follow-ups and the practice, some of the practice is done midweek, but we try to keep those short and crisp, do them during the week, watch them as a follow-up, but with planning, you ought to be able also to make an hour or two midweek. Again, it's your career. Are you really telling me for your entire future you can't make an hour anytime during a week with warning? If that's true, honestly, you need the class even worse because you're working somewhere very controlling where you have no agency, and I'm sorry for you. But we have thousands of students at this point that I've taught executive presence to either in this dedicated class or in other classes, and they've gotten benefit from it. How often do you do it? Can I join on the next date? We do the class about once a quarter. That means July and October, the dates are set. We'll do it in sometime in 27. That's a long time to wait. That's a long time to wait, but if that's what you can do, that's when we'll do it. It's also true if these classes overfill and we have a waiting list. If you get the it's full, you'll be rolled over to a waiting list. If you get a waiting list message, we'll see how many are on the waiting list and see if we need to open another cohort sooner. But the soonest you can count on is probably January. All right. What about pharma companies and other regulated environments? What about cultural differences? This is a good point, okay? Different companies and different people want you to speak differently. One of the things I teach in the class is watch others. I encouraged all of you today in the chat to be watching what other people did and said, to be watching how do they do it. Well, if you want to know the culture and what works in your company, I have a secret recipe that I'm going to tell you. And that secret recipe is watch who's succeeding and how they speak and handle meetings, and watch who's failing or struggling or getting exited, and think about what they did. When someone, the greatest thing about public speaking and about presence, you do have to do some of it yourself, practice to get better. But good news, you can get better for free by watching others. One of the things I did already today, and I encourage people at every class I teach, is judge me. And that's not because I'm perfect. Remember, I pointed out at least 2 places where I misspoke. Judge me. Every minute you're watching a leader, whether it's me or anyone else, be thinking, what are they doing that's effective? What are they doing that's losing me? That's how you can learn at all times and in your company, in pharma, etc. Because even pharma isn't going to be one answer. Even within Merck or whatever, we take a big pharma company or any company, different groups, different leaders have different tastes. The way you figure out how to succeed is you get good at tuning your presentation to what that audience wants. Now, there's a key here. I want to go back to that question about authentic. You can say, well, if I'm modifying what I'm saying because my boss doesn't like certain words or doesn't like lots of detail, I'm no longer authentic. Baloney. Okay. There's a difference between changing the wrapping on the present and changing the substance of what's in it. Executive presence, part of it is getting good at what's called reading the room. When do I need to be shorter? When do I need to be longer? When should I give more detail? When should I give less? When do I need to ask questions? You can get good at this reading the room by starting now. Okay, if you do nothing else Monday from this class, just commit to yourself to start watching others. Are you ever bored in meetings? I could say, please, everybody, put a one in chat if you're ever bored in meetings, but that would be every single person who's here. So I don't need to do that. Well, when you're bored in a meeting, and I'm looking over for a second at the list of people who are here, if you're bored in a meeting, stop listening to the meeting, at least with all your brain, but as opposed to dropping into your phone or zoning out into the middle distance and dreaming about dinner that night, start watching the meeting and how it's being performed. Who's saying what, who's doing what, who's being heard, who's being talked over, and learning what works at our company, what doesn't work. That's what you do. All right. Does one need to be a high performer before getting the benefit from the course? No. The point is to make you a high performer, right? Look, here we get real gritty again. Part of how you're judged as a high performer is what you do in terms of your work, your performance, how right it is, whatever. Part of it is how you're seen. You all know people that you think are brilliant, but they're stuck in a corner being ignored and may get fired or let go. Why? Because they didn't have the presence and the relationships. So engineers in particular, but lots of people who got good grades in school hate this. Why? Because at school, if you do the work and you pass the test, you get an A, and it's not about whether or not the professor likes you. If it's not English and it's not about writing. If it's math or science, there's a right answer, there's a wrong answer. And if you have the right answer, you can be smelly and disliked or an introvert and unpopular and get the A. But in the real world, someone makes a judgment about you and it's not that solid. And your hard work can be devalued where I say, well, that wasn't that hard. And someone I like, I say, wow, did Jason really kill it on that? Jason is so impressive to me, he gets the raise. Being high performance is your presence. In fact, I will finalize this argument. This is important. You have this whole message inside your head about who you are and why you're valuable. And you know what? It's a great message. But I can't see it. That's your beliefs. What do I see? I see your presence. I see how you show up in the room, how you speak, how you act, who follows you. The only thing I can judge you by when it comes to results time and when it comes to who's getting pay, who's getting promotion, who's getting the new assignment, who's getting hired is what I see. And executive presence is about, yes, build up your core of real work, but then present it strongly. Because how you present it makes all the difference. And you know I'm right. You can hate it. You know I'm right. All right. Is there a specialized way for students and young people? Is there a specialized way? I'm not sure I know what that means. So if someone can clarify it, they can come back. And I will answer that once I know what it means. I'm not going to speculate. Somebody says 50 people is still a lot. Do you have something smaller setting for better feedback? Yes. What we do is we set people up for peer practice. After we've taught all the tools and you get good at watching and critiquing each other, you're right. I can't be there every moment. Sure, we can do smaller practice. How much would you like to pay me? Okay, I turn down individual coaching at $1,000 an hour. I have too much, I don't do it. I'm going to coach someone. My price for individual coaching is now $3,000 an hour, and I still turn people down. So yeah, if you want me to coach you one-on-one, just decide how much you want to spend and drop me an email. I'm happy to have the money, but the way we get around that is you get these 13 hours of work for less than 1 hour of my time. But we set you up that once we've taught you and helped you practice how to evaluate each other, we put you in small groups and one-on-one in pairs and let you practice with other people who know the rules and know how to do it, and they give you feedback. And that's how you get the reps. I do it with you. I do it in front of everyone to teach everyone, and then we have you do it with each other so you get the reps. And don't worry, we still close. It's not like I just farm you out and you talk to others. We come back at the end and we do the hardest questions I give people. We do on the last day. We do like a capstone exercise with my very hardest questions so that people get to see the really hard stuff and see the improvement. It's like a graduation ceremony, like Enrico, who did so well and improved so quickly. Imagine what he's going to be like after 2 weeks of classes and material. Okay. Can the training help ICs? Directors and VPs actually seem to never approach ICs directly at your work. Oh, interesting. I bet. Let's ask a couple questions about that. One, do they ever do it? Who are they approaching? They're approaching the people they know who've impressed them before. Second, you can approach them. Third, yes, this helps ICs. You're an IC, you still have a manager and you still have a person, maybe a senior manager. You interact with them and you go to meetings with them. That's where influence starts. I didn't start influencing vice presidents. I started at my first company working with a regular old boss, a manager. First, she was a first level manager. But I built my presence with her. She put me in front of directors. I got to know the leadership of that startup. It begins with having presence, and that's what gets you leadership access. You don't start with the leadership access, you start with the presence. All right. Is it good for non-native English speakers and women? I love these questions, by the way. They're very real. Thank you. Ask for yourself. I demoed this with 3 non-native speakers. Was it good for them? Ask them if they're still here. Ask, I'd be curious. Probably, I would guess Enrico. I see him there. So Enrico's there. Let's ask him. Jason, can you take him off mute real quick? Actually, I see they're all here. So the other 2 of you, I'll ask you to comment in chat. Enrico, did that quick exercise help you?
It was the unexpectedness of it, was really what made a difference. I think and also, just if I may make like a quick comment. So to me, the problem with with presence and so on is that it doesn't happen in a vacuum, right? So it's the classic case of there's a Friday afternoon meeting with a bunch of VPs, sometimes execs, and I'm in the middle of 3 fires, and I only have limited time to prepare. And still, you have to show up and do your thing, right? So it's what goes back to what you were saying before, right? So you need to practice how then you play, because you always it's in our world the
Did it help
conditions are
though?
always poor, right? So there is no quiet period, there is no ideal situation, right? It's always in the middle of something.
Yep. And so you have to practice. And I agree with you. There isn't always time. You've got to be ready to go on a moment's notice. And if I heard you correctly, what you said, because I'm showing you summary here, what would be the strongest opening? If it's true, yes, it helped. Is that true? Yes, it helped.
Yeah.
Perfect. I agree with what you said. Beyond that, yes, it helped. And there's more to learn. That it's not, as you said, in a vacuum. See, I was listening to Enrico, and what he said is it's not in a vacuum. Thank you very much. You have to build this skill to be ready anywhere. I'm going to go on. We have the other 2 people here, Apurva and Richa. They can tell you whether or not it helped them. I'm going to move on to my next question. Is the course covering communication with an exec who keeps interrupting? Yes. I am absolutely. I only interrupted Enrico. I didn't interrupt Enrico. At the end, I said, I'm not convinced. I gave him a hard follow-up. I practice, and we teach people to practice with both interruptions and hard follow-ups. So yes, we do cover that. I didn't have time. I didn't want to torture people today who haven't had uh, all the training yet by just jumping in over them. That's cruel. So even though I said I give real feedback today, I didn't show my cruelest techniques. One of the reasons I like to teach this class is it's fun for me. I'll be honest, I have a little bit of a mean streak. I am here to help you, but it's fun to throw people curveballs. Why? Not just to be a jerk, but because it's what makes them better. It's what makes them better. When you interrupt, you cut them off. And so, yes, we practice that. Okay. Um, is the course actually valued by big corporations? Like if I tell my boss I took this course, will they know they should be impressed? Um, some corporations are going to value it. I think that's the wrong reason to take it. Some bosses will actually send you to this and pay you to go to a class about better speaking if that's a part of your job or stronger presence. Some won't. A lot of our students get their classes refunded, paid for, reimbursed. But the reason to take this is for yourself. You're investing in yourself. Okay. Uh, the question is not, will someone be impressed you took the course? The question is, will they be impressed if you have better presence? Do you think having a strong presence changes the impression you make with your leadership? If you don't believe that, honestly, you shouldn't be here. It's okay. I don't need a class or any class to be for everyone. But if you believe a stronger presence makes a difference, and I see people around my work who are confident, clear, and who get listened to in rooms and get what they want, and I want to be one of them, then the course is for you. If it's about having a credential on your resume line, we give you a certificate, and some people may care, but I don't think that's the right reason. So if you want a pretty piece of paper, we're happy to give you one. That's not the reason. Okay. The course sounds good, but it's quite pricey. Yup. Why? I fill it all the time. I only have so much time. You heard I'm writing a book. I can't do it all the time. So it is pay to play. And here's the point, it's worth it. You're all smart at math. I'm going to challenge you. If this class works as I say, and you've got plenty of information to decide that yourself, it's going to be worth it for you on any math you choose. And I'm going to show you why. You get promoted from any job you're in 1 month earlier than you otherwise would have. That month, you probably get all that $3,000 back or most of it. But even if you don't, just 1 month, let alone 6 months, let alone a year, you got that promotion earlier, which means you're going to get the next promotion earlier. And you can use those skills to grow faster and get the next raise sooner. So the class applies through your whole life because you're going to be working with other people, speaking, talking, influencing your whole life. So you're going to get this promotion a month earlier and the next one 3 months earlier and the next one 2 years earlier, and they're going to be bigger. And so you're clearly going to make the money back many times over. But yeah, there's only so many seats. I fill the class all the time. And so, hey, I'm going to be honest with you. I am a capitalist. This is actually cheaper than I could sell it. I help as many people as I can, and I also help here for free. If you honestly feel you cannot pay, you got whatever 90 minutes today and you've got the PDF. I love to help people for free, but when it comes down to sitting on this microphone and talking with people one-on-one, I only have so many hours. All right. Let's see. The question is, will you be able to apply what you learn in a way the improvement is visible? And I have an alumni in the class. She took it a while ago. And she says, I keep taking a version of this course once in a while, mainly to practice with Ethan and the crowd that joins the course. Everybody needs a reminder, and the course content always has a new update. So you have someone here, and not a plant, by the way, not someone I asked to come. One of our alumni is here saying, They've taken it multiple times. Anyway, question. Will you be able to apply what you learned in a way the improvement is visible? I guess I'd say again, what do you think you saw? What did you see in just 5 minutes with Enrico, Apurva, and Risha? What did you see? If you didn't see any change, I I don't know what to tell you because you did, or you were looking at your phone at that time. Go back and look at the video and watch them. Watch the difference between their answers. Of course, you can apply it in so many ways. Again, I started as a farm kid, not a public speaker. Okay, there's pictures of me I've shown. I was a big round uh, kid with. There's a picture. It doesn't matter. I don't want to go into it. Uh, I learned all this. You can learn it. I can teach it. Let's see. How is it different than your YouTube videos? My YouTube videos are me answering random career questions and me talking about other topics. But this is how it's specifically different is a YouTube video is not interactive. I'm not going to talk to you. I'm not going to look at your camera setup. I'm not going to talk about what you do with your eyes or your hands, you specifically. I'm not going to teach you. The YouTube videos don't give you that live interactive practice with me, Jason, other community experts, and peers who've learned the same material. That's how it's different than YouTube. Are there some specific job titles that it will work better for? Like, can I be too junior? Well, let's talk about that junior thing. Why are you junior? Well, part of it might be your age, but part of it is you haven't had a chance to move up yet. The sooner you learn the skills, the sooner you have the rest of your life to apply them. So will it help people? Yes, it helps anyone who's today in any kind of leadership role. Okay. It helps anyone who's in, and when I say leadership, that doesn't mean management. It's any kind of role where you have to influence other people. It helps anyone who needs to go to meetings, get what they want in meetings, convey updates, impress their boss, which is kind of everyone. By the way, freelancers need to impress the people who are going to take them on and maintain that impression. Entrepreneurs need to raise funding and sell their products. There is no one who doesn't, if you, right? Raise your hand if you've never spoken to another human or never tried to convince them of something. Okay, that's none of us. And so it helps you anytime you need to do that. If you're younger or earlier in your career, it's more time to benefit. By the way, also, it's a skill AI isn't going to take away from you. Maybe you're an accountant, maybe you're a lawyer, right? AI can write a legal brief, but AI isn't going to go into court and argue that case. That's going to be you trying to make an impression. That's the difference of where presence is a skill you can take with you. Even if the argument you're making in that course was all fed to you by AI, it's going to be you as a person saying, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. It's going to be a long time before we have a robot voice doing that. All right. Let's see. So you're all still here for a reason. You're listening to me because you want more information about this. And I'm happy to give it to you free for a little bit more. But lesson, you can only speak powerfully for so long. Why? It does take energy. You can't do it all day because it ends up draining you. So I can only keep talking for so long. You're here, you want more. You're already bought in. So buy in. Get bought in while you have the chance. Right? You're here for a reason, which means something is stopping you from making this decision. Please put it in chat. What's stopping you from investing? Because I want to address those questions. If there's something, you're here, you listened to me this long, but you haven't decided to join the class, why is that? And it's okay. I've already said the class isn't for everyone. That's okay, but I want to know why. Please. Okay. How much practice time is there between sessions? Is it necessary to practice prior to the live class? It is not. We do everything. It's only the hours. Of course, if you practice more, that'll be good for you. And we give you some tips how to completely practice on your own and also how to develop your skills after the class. Because the class is going to give you every tool you need and it's going to make you better. But then you have to keep using it. It's just like working out at the gym. I can give you a good workout, I can show you what weights to lift. But if what you do is then go home, eat 2 quarts of ice cream, and never move a muscle again, you won't be fit. So, what I do is give you everything you need and get you to that higher level of presence fitness. You have to maintain it, but you don't have to do it between classes. Let me see if we have my team's compiling any of those objections because I want to address those. But we're going to see if there's anything else I need to address. It says, I've not decided to take the class just because of the exchange rate, nothing else. I've seen this content dozens of times and would love to dive deeper. Look, the exchange rate, I get it. It's a real issue. I don't have a brilliant solution for you. So I'm not going to try and answer that on the fly. Get in contact with Jason, who's here, and we'll see if there's a way around that. In some of our other classes, we've had solutions, but I'm not going to promise anything right now because my time is valuable and it's unfortunate, but I empathize with the exchange rate, which is why I've talked so much here for free and why I write and teach for free, and I will continue to do that. This is an important point. The class is about concentrated progress and concentrated practice for the people who need it. I have a core belief, which is everything I do, I try to put out for free over time. Unfortunately, there is no way I can put out free over time. Jason, can you clear the screen scribbles someone's put up? The whiteboard is on. I know they didn't mean to, but they moved their mouse over the screen and we have little green marks.
I will try. I don't know if I know how to.
Well, that's
Let's
all right.
see.
Chat will tell you how to clear it. We can crowdsource that sucker. Anyway, the point I was making, the one thing I can't put out for free, I just can't, is my time. That's why the class ends up being exclusive. I can write about how to improve, but if you want me to work with you, like I did with Richa, like I did with Purva, I can't do that one-on-one with all the people for free. There were 600 people here. There's hundreds more who will see this recording or watch it. I can't spend 10 minutes with 1,000 people for free, and that's why that part doesn't scale. Okay, I'm only here to brush up. I'm not stuck yet, but I know I will be sometime. Great, come back when you are, or better, these are the objections people shared, and I like that. Or go ahead and invest now so that you never get stuck. Instead, you benefit from not being stuck. Second, my only hesitation is the fact the job market and specifically the company I work for is stagnated. It makes me think twice before putting down $2,900. I convinced my manager to pay for your other course. Thank you. And I look forward to seeing you in that course. So I do teach other classes. We're not normally here to talk about them today, but if you go to my website, you can find all of those. This person is coming to another class. We often offer an alumni discount. So come to my other classes and you get alumni discounts to some of what I teach in the future. So you don't have to take this class if you want to learn something else. But I appreciate that honest hesitation. Here's the other thing I'll tell you. I teach other classes at other price points because they don't require as much of me as this one does. Take one of those and see if it helps you. You'll feel more convicted about should I open my wallet if you've seen me teach somewhere else and you're like, that was amazing. And frankly, if you take the other class and you're like, that wasn't amazing, which I doubt, but it happens because not every person fits everyone. I am not the perfect instructor for some people. Take that class and you'll know. And I'm okay with that. I'm not here to take anybody's money, which is why the class comes with a money back guarantee. If you're not satisfied, we refund it. What kind of person did poorly in this class? Beyond those who didn't put in an effort and wasted their opportunity. Yeah, okay. Let's talk. This is a great question. Who doesn't do well in the class? The biggest thing is people who aren't willing to come on the microphone, aren't willing, even in the safety of a small class, even having seen me be gentle uh, with other people. Yes, I give direct feedback, but it's with your best interest in heart. They still won't try. The other type who struggle, this question is interesting. Who are the people who don't improve? They are the people who make excuses. Anything you say to them, their answer is, but my situation is different. Humans are humans. Interacting with humans has been the same for centuries. The earliest guidance on how to interact with people was written down, in the BC years. But they're the people who always have an excuse. They always have an excuse for why it's not right for them. Now, I'm not belittling the fact that people need custom guidance, but what I see fail is that people are like, I won't try that. I won't try using my words differently. I won't try preparing in advance. I won't try recruiting an ally in the meeting who helps me recover from being interrupted. I guess they're people who I have a piece of art here from the Matrix. It's got the red pill and the blue pill. It's people who want a pill. They want somehow to be able to take the right pill and have their whole world be different and perfect. You look, if you're worried about your presence, definitionally, you have to make a change. If you want a different presence, you've got to do different things. So, to answer the question, if being willing to be different and try different things is not comfortable for you, is not something you can bring yourself to do, it's not going to work. It's the same issue if you're not willing to go out um, to the gym or stop eating the 3 pints of ice cream, your fitness won't be different. All right, couple more questions, then we may choose to wrap it up. Uh, somebody wants me to bring in super famous people. Uh, they'd like me to bring in the CEOs of Anthropic or um, uh, Sam Altman from OpenAI. Uh, sponsor a cohort for laid off folks. Sure. That would be great. I would love to get them to sponsor it. What I can tell you that should be convincing to you, Jason can throw it in chat because he has the quote, is the CEO of Anthropic has talked about how they're hiring for people with soft skills, how they believe that what's important in the future is these soft skills. So the way to get the Anthropic sponsorship is to look at the fact that this is what Anthropic is telling you they value and what they expect to value in the future economy. All right. I've already attended Beyond Senior Manager. Beyond Senior Manager, thank you. I appreciate that. I want to get my ROI before getting into a new class. That's fair. Please do. I want people to come exactly when this is right for them. My point is just for many of you who are still listening because you put in the time this morning, you know it's right for you right now. How long do we have access to Ethan AI that is part of the course? Actually, you have access to Ethan AI all the time. It's on ChatGPT right now. Because of OpenAI's rules, not mine, your usage is limited. Your usage is limited by their rate limits, depending on the plan you have. But Ethan GPT is open all the time um, because I want to help people. So for the person who asks, like, why don't you do this free? The great thing about that is I can scale my time. I built it once. You can use it all the time. This is where you get my dedicated time as well as that of Jason. Uh, I like the points Ethan makes. I listen to his videos as well. The time in the course doesn't work for me this time. I need to evaluate whether I'm ready to invest that much for the next cohort. Well, you absolutely need to uh, consider that. That's for sure true. It's a big decision, and I get that. Uh, but um, get in while you can because we're able to fill every class. And here's the key: the sooner you're able to afford the help, the sooner you're able to benefit from it. That's the key. If you saw how people improve today, that's how they benefit. I think I've answered most of the questions now. I'll take feedback from my team. Should we keep grinding on questions? Uh, Love to listen to you. This content is very powerful. Appreciate your spending time online and blog sharing your experience. Cheers. Well, thank you. I do. I write every day. I can't teach all of this in writing, which is why you have to come to the class. But I write every day. I have my newsletter. Those are places where it's available. You know, while I was here, my auto post for the day went up on LinkedIn. So there's a new post. There's a new post almost every day of the year, and that's all free. I'm also writing a book. The book is on a different topic. It's called The Magic Loop. It's about how to grow your career by building relationships. Presence will help you do that, but it's a different book. It's going deep into my signature teaching, The Magic Loop. That book will come out over time. That's what today's post is about, but that'll cost you what, $20? So different things for different budget. Maybe that's the answer for the person who's overseas. Uh, okay. What else we got? Uh, like the points you make, listen to all your videos. That one's already done. If I enroll for the October cohort, when will the pre-recorded material be released? Um, I think we normally release it 2 weeks in advance. Is that right, Jason?
Yeah, about 2.5 weeks.
Yeah. So, but I have no objection, important commitment to doing it earlier. Um, we can release at least some of the pre-recorded videos to make sure you have time in advance, but we always give people plenty of time. So we can do that for you. All right. Let's see. Um, what else do we have here? I think I've answered a lot of the questions. Oh, I'm scrolling down. I see a few of them. Job market. Yes, the job market is a risk. What kind of person did poorly? Um, so this is a great point. Executive presence is also about being an excellent listener. When do you talk to your team members, executives, or anyone else? What techniques, except for asking follow-up questions, have you used to get into what they wanted to tell you? Awesome question. Part of presence. This is a really good question. Thank you. Part of presence is being a good listener. If you've not read the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, he talks about in that book the power of being a good listener and asking good questions and then shutting up. And he tells several stories of he was in sales, so he's telling sales stories. And he tells several sales stories about people breaking into accounts that were not available. They were already working with someone else. By just chatting with the decision maker, asking them questions about things they wanted to talk about, and being a good, attentive listener. And at the end of that, the decision maker said, I really like you. I'm going to switch my business to you. They'd never even talked about their product. How did that work? Listening makes people feel valued. What was part of my push for you here when we had the slide way early that said pain? One of the pains that you all feel, I feel it too when I get ignored, is when someone doesn't seem to hear me, doesn't seem to listen to me, doesn't seem to value what I'm saying, or even obviously doesn't, I feel bad. Listening is your chance to make the other person feel really good. And of course, how does life work? If I make you feel good and I want something from you, you're way more likely to do it for someone you like and who's made you feel good. So, how do you do it? Questions. Ask a good question, an open-ended question, and then shut up. Okay? So an open-ended question is something like, well, it's a question that doesn't have a yes or no. It's me asking the people, what is your job and what do you do? That's pretty closed-ended. They're going to answer with, well, I work here and I do this. Versus, tell me about the challenges you face in your job. Or tell me about the challenges you face in your employment or in your meetings. Now people can talk forever and I can just go, oh, that sounds tough. Yes, wow. And I can add prompts like, oh, how did that make you feel? Or what did you do when that happened? Or anything that keeps you talking, because the more the other person is talking, the better they're going to feel, usually. Introverts, maybe not as much, but even introverts like a small, attentive audience. Remember, everybody who says they're an introvert still lives in society. They don't live in a monk cell in a cave in the hills. They still like some people. All right. So when people say, and I want to honor this point, when people say they can't afford this class, what I always tell them is think about that long-term gain. Here's a good point. I love to talk about this. You went to school. Everyone here went to a university degree. A huge amount of money, probably paid in part by you, was put into that university degree. The degree taught you a skill. Ironically, mine was computer science. It's a skill that AI is busy unraveling, right? I have a bachelor's degree and a master's degree in computer science. They cost a ton of money, but no one taught me how to succeed at work. No one taught me how to be okay on that stage where Jeff was looking at me and my demo was a mess. What is that worth? Well, I told you in my case it was worth the promotion and the 150,000. But you're going to have that moment. Here's what I can guarantee you. In your life, you're going to have the moment where whether you wanted to be there or not, everyone is looking at you and expecting you to say something. Have you been trained for that? Yeah, you're a great accountant. You're a great engineer. You're a great fill in the blank. Have you been trained for that moment where Bezos or someone like him asks you, are we ready to be as big as Tencent? If these plans work, are we going to be as big as Tencent? And you know in front of his audience he wants a yes. Do you have any training for that? Would you like some? You invested a ton in other parts of your life. You're like, hey, I will take all these classes or certificates on technical skills. Is this a skill or not? If you don't believe it's a skill, you wouldn't be here. So when people tell me they can't afford it, what I ask them honestly is, what are you prioritizing and what's going to get you a payback? Today, in today's AI environment, what's going to get you a payback? So that's what I would say. The other question is, as I shared with you, if you were promoted in 6 months earlier, what would that be worth to you? All right, let's see what other questions we have. How often do you do it? We answered that. The course is covering communication with the exec. These all look like questions I've answered. So I think I've answered many people's questions. If you have questions, they got lost somewhere in the chat. Here we go. Here's 3 new ones. I love this session. Thank you a lot for your help. I've been following you for the last 1.5 years. You inspired me to join Amazon to follow a similar path. Thank you. I'm glad I was able to do that. And these skills are super critical to stand out in Amazon today because Amazon is no longer growing as rapidly. So you can't just benefit from the rising wave. You've got to benefit from standing out. And that doesn't mean, this is important, nothing I ever teach is about undermining others or putting them down. It's not about being a snake. I don't like that. Presence is about presenting yourself and your own work effectively and well. Politics and manipulation are about crapping on others, and that's not what I don't believe you need to do that. I know some people do that. That's not what I teach. If you want that, find somebody else. Sometimes I feel like people are committed to misunderstanding no matter what I say. Can you say how the course will help with that? Yes. So it helps you with being calm. And if it feels like someone is trying to misunderstand you, no matter what you say, the course and I will teach you to switch to questions. So one thing we do in the course is live Q&A where you get to ask me questions, not just live practice where we practice with each other, but where you get to ask any question you want. Live Q&A though, you get to ask questions like this. And the answer to this question, what do I do um, if someone seems dedicated to misunderstanding me, is I switch to asking them questions. And I say, first, I'm honest about the material. And I say, it seems like we have a misunderstanding here. Can you tell me what you think I'm saying? Get them to reflect to you. Would you be willing to restate what you think I've said? Or can you tell me where you're stuck? If they honestly have a misunderstanding, they will answer that honestly. If they're just there to slag on you as a way to throw you under the bus, they'll say something like, I'm confused by the whole thing. Okay. If they say something like that, you know they're not sincere. If they give you an honest question, answer it. Try and work through. Use different techniques to explain. Like, can I sit with you? Can I do a drawing? Can I give you a follow up? There's lots of things you can offer them. If it turns out you've uncovered that they just don't want to do what you're saying, then what you do is you say, hey, um, it seems like you have a fundamental objection. Or you can call it out and say, it seems like you're not really confused by what I'm saying. You just disagree with the whole idea. Name it. Here's why. It makes them then either deny it and say, oh no, I'm really for it, just blah, blah, blah. Second, if there's an audience, this is really powerful because when you politely call them out for just being objecting to everything, they will stop because no one wants to be known as the person who just is sandbagging. So you say, it seems like you have a lot of emotional energy about this. It seems like your objection here is more something you're angry about than really not understanding. Can you help me? Can you tell me why this topic pisses you off so much? And they'll either say, it pisses me off because my budget, my project, blah, 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 and they'll go off, which is fine. Then they're out in the open. You can at least deal with the real problem. Or they'll say, no, it doesn't this, that. Then they'll shut up because they've just denied they have an issue with it. And so they'll be seen through. Either way, you tend to win. All right. Let's see. I hear people here, you're listening to my content and you enjoy it, but you're not changing. If nothing changes, you're right. Nothing changes. I'm challenging you. Take away, I often challenge people this. This is a fun challenge I give everyone in my class. And I will give it to you right here. I make it stronger in the class and I'll show you how. This is also a case of using clever language, which you can learn to do. I always say, if you listen to this today, but you change nothing in how you behave at work on Monday, what you did was you donated the last 2 hours of your time to me here on this session. I appreciate that donation. I appreciate you spending time with me. But really, what did you get for yourself? You have to make a change on Monday. Now, in the class, a trick I use to get people really committed is I say, if you only listen to this class and you think, wow, Ethan has smart ideas, you've donated your $2,900 to me, and thank you. I'm going to go on a killer vacation. Well, what does everybody do? They're like, hell no, that was money I needed. I spent it. I'm going to change. It fires them up to have the willingness to interrupt a leader or the willingness to go to a meeting and speak up when they're normally silent, or the willingness to send out a document when they're a little bit afraid of, will this sound like bragging, or sending out my status to people that didn't ask for it, is that too bold? They can think, well, I spent $2,900 to know I should do that. Now I'm going to do it. So the money, this is important. I say that a lot. I told you I'd criticize myself. I like to say this is important because I think it's true, but I repeat the phrase too much. So there's a lesson. Don't tell phrases that you overuse. But here's the point. Pushing people to commit to action. I used to coach people for free as a charity act. They never did anything. Why? They weren't paying for it. There is some ugly truth that to get you to change, you've got to put your money where your mouth is. In this case, quite literally. We want to change what's coming out of your mouth. You have to be invested enough to pay for it. And you know this is true. There's this whole science that shows, you want to lose 10 pounds. One way that works is make a bet with a friend and say, first one to lose 10, we're going to bet each other $100 or $1,000, enough money to be painful. People even do this in pools. They get 10 people together and they say, we're each going to put up $50, and the first one to lose 10 pounds gets all 500. There's lots of different mechanics. It's not about the game mechanic. The point is, put skin in the game, get results. Don't put any skin in the game, don't get results. Many of you here have listened today and you've gotten good tips. You're still listening because you believe you got good advice, and I appreciate that. But you're not going to do anything about it on Monday because it didn't cost you anything. I like to share. I have this hope that you'll do something without any other incentive. But part of the truth is, I don't coach anyone for free as charity anymore because I found they blew me off. They listened but did nothing. The same is true in the classes. Okay, we found that, candidly, the higher the price, the more dedicated the student. And I want dedicated students because it's my life. Great thing, my alumni are here, some of them. The alumni who was here, she's probably still here. After taking one of my classes, she said, I want to meet you. Where can I come anywhere in the world to spend time with you? And I said, I'm going to Poland because I help refugees in Ukraine. I help refugees and people displaced by the war in Ukraine. I help them get on their feet and become entrepreneurs. I'm going there to teach them some of my skills. And if you want to meet me, come to Poland and you can spend the week with me and you can help teach. She flew to Poland. We spent a week together. Now, interestingly, she's here today listening. That's all the impact. But it's skin in the game. How did she buy my time? My time is not for sale anymore one-on-one. She bought it by joining something I cared about. She put skin in the game, so I put skin in the game. This is a lesson you want to use both. Yes, that's why you should take my classes and put skin in the game. It's also a lesson you should use at work. How do you get the people around you to stop taking advantage of you for free and make them put some skin in the game? That's the subject of my Magic Loop book. how do you make people put skin in the game so that they invest back in you? And the book isn't out yet, but you can get that value for free. It's in Lenny Rashitsky's newsletter. It's in his book in short form. I'm writing a book to make more details, but it's there. Now, I want to pause and tell you a story. I mentioned earlier that you can't have high executive presence nonstop forever. One reason this class is good is because other people have taken it before you and we've gotten their improvements and learned the lessons. The very first time I taught this class, at about this point in teaching, I was 2 hours and 15 minutes in, I gave a very honest comment. Some of you ask, am I vulnerable? Am I transparent? I said, whoa, I'm getting tired. I'm starting to lose my voice. That was true. This one student, only one, thank God, took that wrongly. You just talked about being misunderstood. Someone asked about being misunderstood. She thought it was uninspiring for me to say, whoa, I'm getting tired. You know what? That's okay. It did, obviously, she felt it was inappropriate for an instructor to say, oh, I'm getting tired. I'm going to wind things down. That's human. Know your limits. You, what did I do last night to prepare for this class? Having written the slides and thought about what could I teach you and what were the messages I wanted to share and what was the most condensed learning I could offer. I watched 2 hours of TV with my wife. Why? I could have gone through the slides again. I could have dry run them again. But the most important thing was to bring you the energy. And that was going to be the strongest thing to up my energy. So I'm going to answer one or two more questions only, and then we're going to call it good. So those of you who've been here, thank you. What? I'm looking at the screen. 3 more questions, and then we're done. So you will have made it the whole way. Silent contemplation to answer a question for senior leaders is a double-edged sword for EP. When should it be done and not? Okay, we talk about this in the class. It's in there. What do you do when you need to buy time or think? There are a number of techniques to do that. I can't go through them all today, but the most basic one is to say, that's a good question. Give me a second. Or that's a good question. Let me think about it. The last variation I'll give you today, the rest are in the class, are that's a good question. Let me make sure I have it right. And then you restate it to them. I know you said silent. If you can get your mouth to run on autopilot, your brain can be thinking. Can you tell me how to manage all the priorities and reactive work at work while still ensuring you have time to breathe, stay in health, and take regular breaks? And can your training help with that? That's not the main topic of this class, but where this class will help is being valued enough and being confident enough to say, you know, I'm going away with my family this weekend, or I'm going to go do something for myself. I'm going to be off the clock. It will teach you how to build the relationship and deliver that line. The rest of work-life balance, I'm not going to cover all here today. That is in some of my content, and I do write about it. Okay. Someone has asked, I've taken courses before and didn't see results, but thank God they're not writing about my classes. Yeah, you know what? I can't defend every other class you've ever had. I can tell you why you'll get results from this class. Real practice, real feedback, tested information, stories you'll remember. Be honest. How long will you remember the Jeff Bezos and the movie playing upside down story? Probably forever. Stuff you can remember. But also, it's risk free. If you're unhappy at the end and you really don't feel we met your goal, we refund people. Now, thank God I'm not here. I, I'm not here to hand out refunds. But if you're unhappy, we do it. Why? Because they're very rare. We've taught about 2,000 students in this class and others. We've done less than 10 refunds. And that's not, the policy is there. It's people come away, I can say this proudly, I think. They're ashamed to look me in the face and say, that wasn't good enough. You didn't earn it. I want my money back. Because they know they did. That's what protects us from fraud and scammers, from people saying, oh, I'll take the class and then ask for a refund, even though I got the value. Because after you've met me and spent time with me, relationship building, I hope you won't treat me that way. And few people will. Okay. And that's why I can make that offer. Can I build an AI agent to practice these skills? Some of them, yes. We actually talk about that in the class of how to have an AI agent. So, how to use AI to practice some of the skills. I'm not going to go through all that now. It's in the class, but yes, you can do that. Somebody asks, I'm on the fence between joining in October because of summer vacations, responsibilities, or now. Do you really believe October it will be better? You need to take the class when you're going to have the time to focus. You also need to take it as soon as you can to start getting the benefit. So you need to make that call. Again, let's look at it this way. Have you ever learned something that changed your life in any domain? Discovered something, gotten a secret, gotten a tip? Well, I bet there's lots of things you think about. You say, damn, I wish I'd have known that 5 years ago. I wish I'd have invested in that stock 5 years ago. I wish I'd have known, how to talk to people more confidently 5 years ago. Earlier is always going to be better. Do you not study all the time? This class is for high performers and people who want to be high performing. If you want to be high performing, you're a perpetual student. You're working all the time to get better. Okay. So because I would like to have my voice for the rest of the day, I'm going to wrap it up. There will be post-event communication. So there will be a reply, and if there are some you'll get an email. If there are some spots left, you still have the chance to join. You can sleep on it. If you need to talk to your spouse about the investment, you'll have that chance, particularly for October. But gonna tell you honestly, 600 of you attended in the beginning. 137 of you are here right now. 2,600 people registered. They didn't know we were going to make this offer at the end. So as soon as this is over, my team's going to send that email to those other, 2,000 people and the recording. So that's what keeps the clock ticking is right now there's 135 people left. Thank you for staying. There were 600 who were here initially. There's 2,000 more who are going to get this in the next 10 minutes. So I think I'm good enough now. It's been a real pleasure. I appreciate all the people who stayed. I appreciate Apurva who volunteered, who's still here, as well as Enrico and Risha. 4 more people I want to call out: Ling, Sandra, Flora, and then someone I actually know, Arjun. They were here in case we needed them. If they're still here, thank you for having come and having been willing. I'm sorry we didn't get to you. In the class, I get to everyone. That's the commitment. And so with that, I'm going to thank everybody here and tell you I appreciate all of you for having spent the time. I know you got stuff out of this. I'm glad you did. Please, if you do one thing for me, apply it Monday. Sure, I'd love to have you in the class. What matters more to me is that you apply it Monday and see the progress. You will come back to the class later, maybe, or not. But apply it, try it, make your life better. My ultimate goal is to help you succeed. And if you try some of it, if you apply what's in the PDF, you will see an impact, and that's what I want for you. I'm going to go now. Thanks, everybody. Team, I would just end this. Is there anything else you want me to do before we sign off?
I think we just ended. Ethan, we were supposed to do 90 minutes of this.
It's what we always do. We talk about how long the class will be, but we run way over. If you do join my classes, save a little buffer time. What's on the
Yeah.
screen here is our public commitment to what we guarantee to give you. Jason and I always run long, and we do
Yeah, we
that,
can't help it. We love answering questions.
right? We're motivated to help. And that's why, yeah, that's why it's a good deal. It's why the community comes back. I see other people here know me. All right. Thank you all so much. I'm going to hit the end button once I can find it. And oh, stupid screen. I've lost my mouse. There we go. Stop the share. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you so much. See you later.
Thanks, everyone. See you then.